I'm rooting for the Rams, not because I would love the Lions to get in the playoffs. If the Seahawks get into the playoffs and my team loses, being from Seattle, I will turn into the Joker. It is not going to be good. I truly need the Rams to win here. I have a podcast that I'm on with all Seahawk fans. I'm going to get my feelings hurt. I'm going to be sitting there, hoodie over my head. Not very good. So I'm rooting for the Rams with you. However, what is your take, before we get into this, what is your take on the whole scheduling debacle in terms of the Seahawks being early? So then, if they win, the Lions have nothing to play for. I keep seeing this narrative being pushed by a lot of Seattle people. Oh, the Lions aren't going to play super hard. As someone who covers this team, what is your take on that?
That's really stupid.
Thank you.
That's all I really need to say. That's really stupid. I think this idea the Lions won't play really hard. Do you know nothing about Dan Campbell? Do you know nothing about what we have seen from 2 seasons of him, plus a Hard Knocks, plus everything that comes out of that man's mouth? Do you not believe that this is like somehow like the coach that just, no matter what game it is, he just doesn't care? He doesn't even know probably that the Seahawks Ram things even matters. I mean, he knows, but that's not going to affect him at all. And to be honest, even if the Seahawks lose, don't tell me if the Seahawks win, don't tell me the Lions won't just, play light. They want to kick the ass of the Packers too. Like, record, implications, all of that does not matter to a Dan Campbell team. What matters is you are in front of him right now, and he has Jared Goff under center, which doesn't sound like the threat that it should, but he has all these insane weapons and an offensive line, and Jamal Williams and Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, a literal sun god, and he is going to try to just tear you apart. He doesn't care that that the Lions might not even be playoff eligible before then. He wants to beat the team that's right in front of him. This is a man that once upon a time did a commercial for the Dallas Cowboys to sell season tickets, and in that commercial, he tackled a horse. Dan Campbell, in cowboy pads, tackled a horse. Or bucked a bronco, something. I'm not even quite sure. You can find this on YouTube. But, this is the man you're dealing with here. This idea that, we all saw the quote from Ron Rivera last week, right? They didn't even realize he got eliminated that he could be eliminated from the playoffs. This idea that everyone's scoreboard watching and will just throw in the towel if they can't. These are football players. They're not fans. Stop thinking of them like you think of yourself as a fan. Stop thinking of them as being like this weird emotional min-maxing of, well, if we can't make the playoffs, we might as well, make sure we maximize our draft position. No, they're competitors. They want to go out there and kick someone's ass. And they will absolutely play hard here, even if they are eliminated by the Seahawks. This was the right move, by the way, because this would have been on at the same time. And to be honest, this is a much better game to have on as your Sunday Night Football versus whatever it would have been. Like, the Lions haven't been on national TV at all. This is a season-ending game in Lambeau in January. It's going to get the cackles going of everyone on national TV because they love their cold weather games. And it's a rivalry that seems to always be here at the end of a season for no good reason whatsoever. The Packers and the Lions are always playing in the final week of a given season. Like, this is the right move, and the Lions, I will tell you right now, they will not care if the Seahawks defeat the Rams. The fans might. The Lions themselves will not.
Thank you. That's what I've been saying all week, but because I'm a Packers fan, I'm biased. That's just what you wanted. The other game that they would have potentially put in primetime was Jaguars versus Titans, but we just saw Josh Dobbs.
No. That's stupid. A, AFC North. B, it's the Jaguars and Titans. Like, what are you talking about?
Thank you.
What are you talking? I mean, no disrespect for those teams, but what are you talking about?
Yeah. And I've definitely burned any good bridges with Seahawk fans I had with what I was saying the second the schedule came out, because I was hearing the NFL was rigged for the Packers two-way. If the Seahawks win, it's rigged because then the Packers get an easy, quote-unquote, easy Lions team. But if the Seahawks lose, then it's rigged because the NFL wants to win an in-game. It's like, okay, that, if that's going to be your mindset on it. It's, again, I'm not even sure that they're going to, as a granted, Seahawk hater. I'm not even sure they're going to beat the Rams. They've beaten Sean McVay twice in 6 years. One of them was on a missed field goal at the gun, and then the other one was on John Wofford, who had a
Yeah, I
chance to
don't.
go.
I don't want to think too much on the Seahawks Rams thing just because it's completely out of my control. I just know the Lions, like they've never really there has yet to. There's only been like one game where they really didn't come up and fight, and that was the Patriots game. But every other game they've been in, that Cowboys game was a house of horrors as well. But like this is a team that has always, even last year, just fights like hell in every game. And they are the last team to be scoreboard watching for anything. It doesn't matter to them. It really doesn't. And even if you take the Seahawks element off the board, the chance to remove the Packers from the playoffs, are you kidding me? They'll take that.
Exactly.
In Lambeau to end a year, they'll take that. They will take that because they want to mount heads, because this is year 2 of a rebuild, and Dan Campbell doesn't care. And the Lions players, who have all taken after Dan Campbell at this point, with his infectious energy, with how he approaches things, with how he wears himself on his sleeve. This is a man who the Panthers ran like 300 yards on them. Sam Darnold threw something like 270 yards, and Dan Campbell went after them at them afterwards and said, "Great game. You really kicked our ass. Great game." That's who the Lions are. They want to fight. It's funny enough, we brought up Jamal Williams earlier, this idea of positive competition. It's something the Lions he used this term with us one time when he was on our podcast, this idea of positive competition. It's something the Lions really aspire to in a lot of ways. Like, and the Panthers game's a fascinating one too, because that's the only way I could see the Lions really getting embarrassed in this game, because it was very cold in Charlotte. That turf was in a really bad state. I don't expect that with Lambeau, but they just got their asses kicked in that game, and that's the only blemish on them so far. And it'll be fascinating to see what that comes down the stretch. But motivation, like if anyone talks motivation this week, they're clearly not watching this NFL, or they know nothing about the Detroit Lions, which I understand. The Detroit Lions aren't on your first list to really watch, but I would think at this point people know who Dan Campbell is.
Yeah, and it's like, I think the first quote I saw from him, because someone asked him about it, I think at a press conference, and it's like, he's like, "This is a playoff game." It's the first question again, and I think that the attitude that you and a lot of Lions fans, reporters, we get to knock the Packers out of the playoffs. Like, I think that people are overlooking that because they don't know the rivalry or the hatred from Lions fans towards the Packers, or the Lions towards the Packers, or just the NFC North rivalry in general. It's like, you have to break it down, to them. It's like, oh, what if you had a chance to remove the 49ers from the playoffs? They're like, oh, we wouldn't slack off on that game. It's like, okay, well, that's basically what this is.
Yeah, I think some people are min-maxing on again, draft stuff a little bit too much. There's no scenario where the Lions just roll over.
And the other part of that is, like, the Lions, from what they showed last year, they're not afraid to move up to go get their guy. So I don't think that, being back a couple of spots is going to deter them from getting the guy that they truly want.
And by the way, they're also hoping that the Rams win, which will also remove that one particular, will knock down their other draft pick too. I think right now the Rams sit 6th. And it's kind of moving way out of Jalen Carter range, but that's completely fine. The Lions would much rather be able to say we made the playoffs in year 2 of Dan Campbell.